Many people who think they are taking care of their health by doing one activity are often not looking at all the other important variables. You have these 5 levers, and if you can take care of these 5 levers, you're set.
Hey Amol, good to have you today. We can start with
Yeah,
you giving a short introduction about what you're all about and what you're building.
absolutely. Thank you, Sanjeev, for having me. Excited to chat. I'm Amol. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Reshape. At Reshape, we're trying to make fitness easy for people by bringing a nutrition and fitness coach that knows every bite you eat, every minute you sleep, and every step you walk. That way, we aim to solve for preventative lifestyle diseases globally, and that's the mission that we're on.
Super. So before we get into the product, and I'm hoping you have a demo for us as well today where we can go through the product. We'd like to, at Founder Journeys, we want to talk about where founders are coming from, what gets you to go along this journey of building these kind of solutions, what drives you and things like that. So maybe we could kind of rewind to a few years ago and go from there, and how did you get to where you are today? Maybe you could start with that.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. So I grew up in a very small town in India. So that's where I was there till like high school. After that, I ended up going to IIT. So I've always been like passionate about like, engineering, learning the knowledge that exists and using it to solve problems in the world. So I've always been a builder at heart, trying to like, learn cool things to do, cool technologies, and then trying to apply it to building different solutions. During my university days, I was like really into robotics because that's like, an intersection of a lot of different domains, be it software, be it hardware, electronics, electrical, and everything else. So I ended up like, spending a lot of time just building robots, very basic robots to start with, evolving to building autonomous drones, working in robotics labs, building robotic arms, trying to make them intelligent. And so that was something that I was really passionate about doing from the get-go. After graduating from IIT, I landed up in a corporate job as a software engineer initially, and then I was just like, might as well give it a try. I was planning to go for my master's in robotics, which I deferred for a couple of years just because I wanted to experience what it was like working a regular job and also take some time off academia before I went into it again. And just doing that, I think I got a lot of experience in my first 2 years working there. I was very quickly promoted like twice. Once I became like, a machine learning engineer, then I'm a solutions architect building robotic process automation solutions. So building like software robots now that are trying to automate processes. Doing that, I understood like, all that goes the back end of these large corporations and whatever processes were manual, what are the bottlenecks, how I can use technology to eliminate those. I was hired by a company in Canada, and then they sponsored my work permit, moved me all the way across the world to Toronto, where I lived for the next 4 years working with the same company. Initially working in the same domain that I was specializing in. Then I started hitting a saturation point that I'm restricted to one technology. I want to do more. I want to be more of a generalist. I expanded into cloud, and just doing cloud, I got so many skills, but then I hit like a saturation point where like all of these skills were not really put into use as much as I could do them. I did work on some like large scale cloud projects, but I was like, hey, I can build any application in the world, but I'm very restricted to solving for like small scale migrations, small modernizations. And that just like, kept bugging me for a while. I kept doing that for like a year and a half. I had all these skills to build. So I ended up like collaborating with my best friend. So that also goes long back. So we've been friends since like 7th grade, since his first day in school. Then we ended up going to the same university, ITBHU. So we ended up spending like 3 years in uni together, did a couple of projects then as well. So we really like, vibed really well. So I just gave him a call one day that, hey man, like how about we collab? And at that time he was running his like, software services company. So he did join corporate as well, kind of got bored again. And then he was like, okay, I love music. So I'll do music part-time, and part-time I love building products. So I'll do a software services company, build products for other people. So we collaborated, and we used to get these services projects on the side that he was running and funnel those funds into all these other experiments we were doing. And the reason for doing that was that we didn't have like a big idea to like, just go all in at once, but we wanted the execution experience. So when we had that big idea, when we had our internet moment, we were ready to execute. We were
Yeah.
ready to seize the opportunity and just doing that. Um, and I guess like one more thing just randomly happened at the time was that I had always struggled with my own personal fitness journey, because like growing up in India, like nobody knows about nutrition. Like, nobody's running all the time like you see here in the West. People don't have very active lifestyles in general. I kept trying to figure it out. I kept trying to learn from the internet. I would go on these random diets like keto or do intermittent fasting, but not really having like a science-based approach that would necessarily work. So I would keep hitting plateaus. So I was this guy who's like, who thought he could figure things out, but health was such a big challenge. And then I look around me, anywhere I go, nobody had figured it out. And if you look at the stats in North America, 70% of people are either obese or overweight, which is just like a mind-boggling start that like as world keeps getting more developed, we keep like advancing technology to make life more comfortable. We are sending rockets to Mars, but at that same time, something as fundamental as health, principles of which haven't changed for thousands of years, we still can't seem to figure out. So that just bugged me. And after my repeated attempts to try to figure it out and failing, I ended up stumbling upon this other guy who's also a graduate from the same IIT, who left his job at Samsung Research and became a full-time fitness trainer and educator. Initially, like, I consumed his content. I could see that he had the kind of body that I had, like, lots of fat, and he just cut it all the way down, had a lot of muscle mass, and he had done that over and over for so many clients. I consumed his content. I found that like, more scientific than most of the content that I had consumed at the time. So shout out Hypertroph. That's what he goes by on YouTube and stuff. So you can check him out. So I signed up to work with him. I was like, hey dude, like, can you train me? Right? I've tried all these different things, but I'm really committed to figure this out. I like your content, but I really want results this time. Right? So what do I do? And he taught me the power of data tracking. Right? So he was like, if you just look at things qualitatively, that good and bad, then you're never going to make sustainable progress because you're measuring nothing and you cannot improve what you cannot measure. And I had tried calorie counting in the past, like using different kinds of apps, but those apps were just so clunky and cumbersome to use that I could never like maintain a habit out of it. But this guy told me like to have my own simple tracker, like make a spreadsheet, keep tracking my meals, keep weighing all the ingredients that I was consuming. So it was during COVID. So I had all the time in the world to cook. I had all the time to weigh all the ingredients, and I could cut down on like 11 kgs of body fat, which was just mind boggling to me in like 6 months, right? That I did it. And then like everything else that I was doing, I used to love to run, but after 4 kilometers, I would start panting really heavily. Now I'm doing like 10Ks a couple of times each week, just like leisure runs, right? So all of these things. And of course, at that same time, he taught me how to like, work out. And at that same time, I was also consuming other content, reading research papers on just understanding what the fundamental science behind like, improve metabolism is, building more muscle is, how do you lose fat, what kind of things contribute to your overall health. And then I was able to make all this progress. But then what happened was lockdowns got called off and we started traveling again. And I was traveling to India 4 times a year because now all of my friends suddenly want to get married. So I started traveling more. And doing that, my life started to fall apart again. So even when I knew what to do, when the knowledge problem was solved, I realized there was a tool problem, right? I'm expecting all of these other people to also just follow the same simple science and get the same results. But then I started getting empathy for them that at one point, my life was in my control, so I could make progress. But soon as my life is not in my control, I can't make progress. And that's the same case with everybody else, that everybody's just so caught up in life that they can't seem to get everything in control. Either I expect like really hard discipline and motivation from them, which is so much harder to do, or I can make things easier for them by giving them better tools to track their nutrition, track their workouts. So that idea just stayed with me. And what I decided to do was still maintaining these spreadsheets was really clunky, right? So even the tools that he helped me build were not working for me. I decided to like, we had one intern join us like one of these summers, and she was like, yeah, I want to learn like app development. So I want to train her in Flutter. So I was like, okay, how about like you build this very simple data tracker for me? And like that way you can learn it. We'll have something of value, and I'll at least start using it. So wasn't planning to make a business out of it. It was like, yeah, we're solving like a basic design problem, not competing with the other apps. We were not doing anything too novel at the time, but we ended up building this data tracker, and slowly my friends started asking for it. And then after my friends started asking for it, then we kept building more features like, hey, can it integrate with my watch? And I was like, yeah, like here to serve. And then we like integrated it with like, smart devices. Everything was happening. And now we are getting to just like, to get back to the timeline. We're at April, May of 2023. So ChatGPT had just come out. It had been a few months. Initially, it was just had like, chatbot powered by GPT 3.5. Yeah. So there was not like much of value that you could think of it, but you were like, hey, interesting. Now AI can actually chat with me without giving me like very repetitive responses. But that was at the extent of where we went. As soon as GPT-4 dropped, I could see just in one version upgrade how much improvement that AI had gotten. So I started learning the science behind like why this was happening. As they were throwing more compute into this, as they were making these models larger, they were getting better, right? And now GPT-4 was actually very useful for a lot of different things. It could hold long context. It could really analyze your data. It would hallucinate a lot less. My mind went like a bulb went on. It's like, I have all of my health data that I've been tracking for months on this app that I have built, so I have all access to this data. What if I put a layer of AI on top? That can I build something like this RAG to get data off the app's database, put it in GPT-4, and have it tell me things, right? And then I did it. I just literally like I went hands-on on it. I usually wasn't coding in these projects, but I decided to. I set up my OpenAI API, ran an experiments, and now this whole system is telling me, hey, you are low on antioxidants. You know, like how you can cook better. Maybe you can replace that oil that you use for cooking those omelets, replace it with a cooking spray. Now, these things are knowledge available across the internet, but
Yeah.
nobody is going to watch everything I was doing, and I wouldn't even know what questions to ask. But now this AI could proactively guide me. And then I was like, we can actually have a personal trainer that knows all about us now. And of course, it had like its own, drawbacks. But I was counting on the technology to improve it, so we could actually make it work for most of the scenarios and keeping the guardrails so it is safe. We've done a couple of products before. We did a used books marketplace, so that taught me how to run like ads on Meta. So I was like, I know how to get customers. I know just about everything. And we have our internet moment, possibly something bigger. And now we're in a position where we have been in the corporate for so long. We have some money in the bank. How about we do full time? And that's when like I called up my friend again. I was like, hey, I think we're pivoting. We're doing only one thing now, not four things. And it's like, okay, let's talk. And then we got in that conversation, and that project, initially called NutriBook, is now Reshape, and that's how we started. So sorry for the long monologue.
It's great that you went through the whole timeline. It's very interesting because I was the first thing when I read about your profile that came into my mind is how does somebody who's on the mechanical engineering side of things, heavily into robotics, get into an AI fitness, AI enabled fitness app? And it's like, okay, that's like a serious, switch the way I see it, right? So it
Yeah,
was always, I was curious to know how you ended up, in this part
absolutely.
of the,
Like Steve Jobs once said, like, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And
yeah,
that was the case. I was
yeah.
just doing many things, as putting my hands on everything and just going all over until dots just connected. Right. And I think, yeah, it is a very unique journey. And that's when you call it the founder market fit, right? Like it's very uniquely your journey. So you're kind of like, you feel like you're meant to do it.
Awesome. So while you were talking about the journey, a few things that came into my mind. So one is, so you mentioned the whole post the ending of the lockdown, and you go, and then suddenly you have so many weddings to attend, and food becomes a big player at Indian weddings, obviously, and that's the
Right.
downfall of most of us who are kind of sticking to a
Exactly.
routine, right? And of course, culturally, we get stuffed when you go to a wedding, right? Irrespective of Anything that's hospitality on Indian hospitality is that, right? You have to
Absolutely.
partake in all that stuff. When you pick up an app to try and learn a new language, it's all about habit. You got to get back to it. You got to go down and do the same thing again and again. You have to jump through the hoops to get to a certain level of
Hmm.
competence, let's say that, right? Or to achieve certain level of success. So, and the same thing is with fitness. Most of us, we drop out after a few weeks. We even see the results, but we can't keep up because of that. It's
Absolutely.
it's very difficult to form habits and stick with habits. So how has that been when it comes to pushing your product, making sure users come
Hmm.
in, making sure they stick around, because that kind of relates to the success of the product as well, right? Over time.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think we can form habits of like doing hard things, and we can form habits of doing easy things. The harder it is, the harder it will be to sustain that habit for long. And that has been the case for the entire history of mankind, that fitness was a hard thing to do, because you had to cut down on certain things, you had to be very diligent with your diets, you had to be very diligent with your workouts and activity, because you can only act on a set plan to be fit. My insight was that, can I make it easier? So fitness is still a habit, right? A healthy lifestyle is still part of you, but it's just a lot easier. The only reason we exist, and that's why I started describing my company, that we're here to make fitness easy for people. That if I can make the threshold required to make that habit much lower, then I have more people who can be served by it. So going back to the point, it's still a habit. There's still a deviation from the normal that a person will have to go through. Even if meal tracking is super easy, they still have to remember that they need to do it, right? So it was a challenge. We did a launch of the product. We realized that, first we got like tens of users, then hundreds of users, then thousands of users. And just doing that, we were realizing that like about 90% of our users would drop off in the first week, just because we couldn't handhold them to make them aware of the process and how to use what we built in that process, right? So it did take a lot of time to live that. I think that had been the strongest, the biggest challenge. We were having really flat line after a couple of weeks, after users had in our retention curves, when users had formed those habits. But just making that initial habit was still a challenge. And that's when we started to understand from empathy on where people might be dropping off, the analytics, watching people do it, talking to people. And it was so it would not form a habit, because it would work 90% of the time when I'm at home or cooking myself, but all the other times it wouldn't work. So we were like, okay, we'll build a nutrition tracker that will work 100% of the time. So you have no excuse to not do it. And doing that, making that faster, making that engaging, making that delightful. We use these small habit loops by giving them reward each time they were tracking their meal. We were giving them some insight about the meal. We were giving them the macros and the micros. We were telling them where they are in the day. And then through the day, we gamified the system by making sure that they had only few levers, like manage your calories, manage your protein, hit your steps, hit your sleep. That's it. And now we gamified the experience day to day, right? And week to week, we were showing them, we predict that this much weight is what you're going to lose, and it would often match what was on the scale. So it would form that longer habit loop as well. So these tiny loops, these bigger loops, all of that just lead to habit formation, which led to us having pretty much the best retention of any fitness app ever.
So, how does it compare with native applications that are available? Let's say, for example, now I don't use fitness apps. Okay, I'm not your ideal customer, but what I definitely do is I look at Apple Health, and Apple Health has got a small widget which talks about how much of distance you're walking or running. Right, that's the only thing. And what I do typically is at the end of the week, I look at how much did I do on average in terms of distance covered. That's it. Not even steps, just distance. Am I doing my average of 4 miles a day or something like that? Right. So, and that's natively available in my phone, and that's it. It stops at that. I'm not thinking about the complexities of food and diet, because I kind of have, over the years, I've kind of zoned down into what works for me, what doesn't work for me. That is me. Okay. So what I'm thinking about is, who is your ideal user in terms of an age and demographic?
Yeah, okay. So we have people using us from age of 18 to 75.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a big spread. Of course, there's like, the spread is more dense around ages of 18 to 45, where people are a bit more tech savvy. Generally, in the early years of 18 to 24, they are trying to like, lose fat, build muscle, look better, right? And just figure out their life system. 25 to 45 is where like now they're realizing that, hey, I'm actually aging, so I need to like do something to counter for that. So they're focused more on their health, but of course at that same time they focus on like looking better. So about like 60 to 70% of our users are coming for like fat loss and gain muscle kind of goals. About 30% or so users would come for like just bulking up, looking bigger. They think that it's going to happen with more food, but it's more muscle that you need, so they come for like gaining muscle and we help them with that. And then about like 5 to 10% are only for like, I'm fine the way I am, I want to focus on my health.
So I'm interested in the last segment because I
Yes.
believe, and this is just me, I believe that people are, when they're younger, they're looking at more on the physicality of things rather than the
Right.
internal intrinsic health. And I think the intrinsic
Right.
health is what you should be focused on early, because that's what plays out as you age. Right. I have
So
seen many people who were very fit and very active at an early age have had lesser problems as they age. But people who have thought they're fit, but they're, meaning they used to go and kind of maybe pick, lift
hmm,
weights, look good, but they're not
hmm,
healthy from a diet perspective, healthy from a habit
hmm,
perspective. When they were younger, they
absolutely.
kind of start falling to a lot of chronic
Hmm.
illnesses as they go older. You know,
Yes.
do you think messaging to that segment
Hmm.
uh, is a bit of a risk when it comes to a app like yours, or is it an advantage?
Messaging to which segment again? The lifestyle improvements or um
Messaging that you're about health early so that you have
oh,
sustained health for
okay.
longer,
All right. Yeah, yes,
you know?
absolutely. So, the beauty of like I describe like people coming to me with different goals, but at that same time, they all have to do the same things. So it's not different when you're trying to like it's the slight like variables that differ, but mostly like and it goes back to this previous point that you were making, that you already have a fitness app where you look at your activity, right? But the important point there is that health is holistic. You can't just eat less and expect to lose weight in a healthy way. You'd lose muscle mass, you'll lose bone density. Many of these apps, they just to, in the interest of keeping things simple, they only make you count the calories, which hurts people more than it helps them. A lot of people go to the gym and they're just like working really hard, and then they're smoking and drinking after because they're young and not watching their diet much. And in the end, and people even do like things like taking like steroids to help them look better. All of these things eventually hurt them, right? I think like there are many people who would like run a lot, and I will say largely who do not take care of their health. Like they would just keep running really, really long distances all the time without eating properly, without spending any time at the gym, like, helping strengthen those muscles that will protect their joints. Many people who think they're taking care of their health by doing one activity are often not looking at all the other important variables. All I'm saying is that there are few simple things: how you're eating, your macros, your micros, your vitamins and minerals that will take care of your health. If you're moving enough, this 10,000 steps thing that we do, or every week we do a couple of runs, all the cardio stuff that we do, strength training that helps like, build and retain muscle. So as you age, you have better metabolic health, better metabolism, you are protecting your joints. And the last thing is sleep, right? So you have these five levers, and if you can take care of these five levers, you're set. Long as you can have a sustainable life system built around these, you can do it. So going back to the question that you asked, that messaging to these people that health is holistic, yes, we do. So we are not a gimmick, we are not a marketing company, we're not just trying to close sales. We exist to make the world a better place, and we do that by helping people achieve the best version of themselves And that can only happen if we do the right things, backed by scientific research, which is take care of your holistic health. So we do the same things. It's just that whenever you're coming with a goal, just your calorie balance will differ. A little bit of the approach in like, your workouts will differ. That's pretty much it. Everything else just stays the same. Health is still holistic. We're still made of the same matter. So we all still need to do similar things.
Everybody comes in and downloads an app with a certain expectation of what the app will do for them, right? A lot of people are about the physicality of things even now,
Right.
right? The movement is slowly picking up in terms of people getting more concerned about health in the long term. You have the Brian Johnsons of the world who are tracking a lot of stuff and making people interested, but that is to a limited audience. It's not a global phenomenon yet, right? Globally,
Yes.
people are still obsessed by what they see on in the movies. They want to look in a
Yes.
certain way based on that, and then it's very, very superficial. It's not intrinsic from a health
Hmm.
perspective, right? Let's take an example of, most people, they'll start reflecting on health only when they get some kind of feedback from their the medical practitioner or the doctor that they go to, when they say, hey, you're at risk of XYZ, and that's when they say, oh, I need to kind of course correct, right?
Right.
So that's where I was coming from on this.
Okay, absolutely. And I think, like, yeah, to draw more on that, I think what we do there, the approach that we take is rather than overwhelming the user, let's say my mom, initially, she got like, picked up a lot of weight over time, just like, staying at home all the time, cooking, typical Indian diets.
Yeah.
I couldn't just ask her that, hey, like, you need to do 10,000 steps every single day, also go to the gym 5 times a day. What we do is we help you take care of one lever at a time, and then we slowly ramp you up, right? It's fine that, like, that you showed intent and you want to work on one thing. Let's say somebody wants to lose weight, right? I'm like, okay, stay on this caloric deficit, please watch your protein. We keep nudging them that workouts will help you get your movement done, and just slowly they realize that, hey, I have mastered the art of calorie balance, so let me just start doing my protein and fiber better. And then they're like, oh, actually I can act, I was doing 3,000 steps a day, now I can do 7,500. I was like, way to go, right? So slowly we keep, like, making the experience such that it's
That they're
fluid, and
motivated to
it
more.
kind of carries you to other things. So for example, when you said that, like, you might not be my ideal customer, like, we'll let you come to, like, track your vitamins, just do an audit of your diet for 3 days, right? And then doing that, you will realize, I thought that these things I was doing right, but quantitatively there's going to be something. Like, for me as well, when I moved from the old ways of doing things now to, like, the new ways of doing things with Reshape, even I learned so much in that journey that, hey, I never looked at those things, right? And I can now, because I've pretty much mastered the other things. So I think that is how the journey becomes. So I think, like, we have something for everyone. It is a life system. You can use it for what it will give you and what you want from it. But it can at least, like, teach people to something and make their life easier just a little bit.
So, how long since you actually launched it in its current shape and form?
We launched in our internal testing during December of 2023. We've actively, like, gotten traffic since April of last year, until we were figuring out a go-to market on how to acquire users at scale and things like that. So it's been like a year, but we recently rebranded, so, and we did a lot of different changes. So, like, that has been just a week ago. So a week ago,
Okay.
we just like
Okay.
rebranded. It's like a new design language that we use. It's pretty polished now. We had the core things working. We just wanted to connect with our users emotionally, and I think, like, our previous branding didn't serve us that much, so we just
Okay.
revamped the entire
Super.
thing.
How many users and which is your biggest market?
So yeah, like, 1,000 to 1,500 monthly active users in a given month. Our biggest markets are North America and India. So India happened to be the case because we used it as a test market, because acquisition in India is pretty cheap, in the sense that you can run ads for like 10 times less cost. So acquisition per user is 10 times less. And then you want, like, large volumes of data to have like statistical significance in your funnels, just nicer to do that. So that, just like, typically Indians don't pay for subscriptions, but that makes like 40% of our paying users today. because they like the product and it sticks with them. And they were like, hey, we sold to Indians, so we can sell anywhere in the world. We carried the same funnels to North America, and they worked. Yeah, so now we're just like ramping up like our acquisition. So then that's basically what we
Okay, cool. So, any difference in terms of how you're approaching the market here versus India, in terms of the marketing messaging or interactions with users and stuff? Because as you said, right, the Indian audience may not be as active as the Western audience, right? Because we have more avenues to do outdoorsy things out here in the West as
Yes.
compared to in India, right? So,
So
how have you adapted to that?
couple of things like we notice is like just like people here have higher intent. And of course, like it's priced accordingly, so I think it's more affordable here compared to incomes here, and that helps too. In the West, we care a lot about the design and feel. Like when we have a product in our hands, we care a lot about feeling. It has to make us feel nice, right? And that's generally what you tend to overlook when you're operating in India, where people think that they don't deserve nice for some reason because nobody gave them nice for the longest time. We just have a culture of like functionality. Did it do the job? And when you come to the West, I think your communication matters, your visual communication, your text communication, how you talk about things, everything plays a role. So I think that is what like really made us like do the rebranding. Because when you're a startup with like and a scrappy bootstrap startup, you have very limited resources to operate on, so everything has to be a very conscious decision. And that's when we were like, hey, this is important, right? Like I watch people like use the app in their hands, and it was like I could see their facial expressions in different points. And I could understand the kind of things that they like. A simple splash screen, even with our previous logo, they're like, oh, they're nice. It's like nobody would care about a splash screen, but they did, right? So I think like those kind of things like really made us understand like what people like. So we were able to make the experience just a lot better, more empathetic, and that has helped the overall lift, not just in the West but also in India now. Now they're like, hey, I have like a world class product that I have access to.
Hmm. Okay. And how big is the community? Do you have community building agenda or, focus as well around it?
We want to do it. I think we just haven't had like enough bandwidth to put efforts into it. I think that's it. So I
No,
will
from a
say
vision
that.
perspective, that's where you're going to go.
Oh, absolutely. I think like
Okay.
absolutely. I think community is very important. So we are going to be launching Reshape Social, which is like Strava for like health. Strava is more for cardio and activities, right? But now we're like, hey, I'm making progress on my health, and you can like watch updates from your friends. You can follow your friends. So that is something that we are going to be trying out, and hopefully our customers love that. We've had like a lot of requests for that. That hey, I want to share data with my friends. How do I do that? I want to watch my how my mom's doing, right? And things like that. So I think like that would serve it really well. About a global community as well, we do plan to like have more engagement on like channels like whatsapp communities are really thriving right now. Besides that, all our social channels. So we do want to be this brand that people can trust, people felt cared for with. And I think like that's the direction that we're going towards,
Okay.
right? When I have like the proper systems in place that can carry this product forward, and I can just give direction and like mainly just like help educate people and help people with various different things, and take that same knowledge and feedback from people to the product.
Yeah, okay. All right. We kind of covered your story so far. We've covered a little bit of, the focus in terms of the audience. How about you running us through the product a little bit, and then maybe I have more
Yeah,
questions on that aspect as well.
absolutely. Let's.
Who's
Mhm.
your biggest competition out here in the US from an app perspective?
From an app perspective, there are like so companies from India who are trying to come to US. So like Healthify is one of the companies who's trying to expand into US, but they have more of like a hybrid approach of like a human trainer and with some AI options in the app, more around nutrition. So I think like that's one. Besides that, like there are new companies like so there's so many different approaches to healthcare that different companies are selling. So I will say there's this company called Superpower who's coming up with like their own app, and they're going to be doing tests for you. Then this Function Health. These are recently like so I don't believe that they've properly live at the moment, but they did raise like tens of millions of dollars. So I think that those are some competitors, I would say, or I would say partners. I think like they have some things that we would love to integrate to. So I think like
Okay.
they are coming up with like some solutions. Besides that, we have new companies like Cal AI. So a lot of times, like people think us as like calorie tracker as well, which we are really not. That's not the only thing we do. We do nutrition tracking better than most people, but it's not everything that we do. So there's like Cal AI, but they were able to do great marketing. So it's a known brand now, which is doing like, that you can click pictures of your food and get all your macros.
Yeah.
So they raised like, they got to like 2 million in monthly revenue recently. So they grew pretty fast. And I think like that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And then there's like ton of different apps, right? So like, so you will
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. Because that's the reason why I asked, because there's so much of clutter, and when you go to the app store and you just search for health apps, you are
100%.
hit by so many options. So how do you stand out
Yes.
from that crowd, and how do you
Yes.
differentiate
I think
yourself as,
the
because
most important thing there is that like, I find my competitors by the approach that they're taking. And the approach that we are taking particularly is very holistic, very much AI powered. It is a coaching health system. It's not just a tracking app, right? So generally, what you find where you find clutter is either they will give you static plans that are not personalized to you, or they're just like food databases where you're tracking your food, right? But it's not a comprehensive one-stop shop solution that is intelligent enough. And I think like that is how we differentiate ourselves from like everybody else. But yeah, that is when like, marketing becomes hard because it's so noisy, right? It's like, yeah, you're saying that, but how do we know?
and
So yeah, I was just like,
okay.
walking through the home screen here that like, early users land on every single day. It has set some targets for me here up at the top, right? Like where I'm supposed to meet my calorie target, protein target, hydration, everything for the day. And then you see this section where my nutrition is captured. It's showing me like, the important things that I care about right now, which are my calories, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Then you have the hydration part down here, and then you have your sleep data and your steps data integrated from your smart devices. Um, then we also have like, personalized diet plans and stuff you can create. Most importantly, our users come on the app every single day to track their nutrition, right? So how are they able to do it is giving these three options, waiting for it to sync. Yeah. So as you can see, you can log your meals with pictures of your food. You can use a voice note and describe your food from anywhere in the world in any language, or you can just use text to type it up. So as you can see, this is like stuff that I've been eating this morning. So I was in a rush, so I just picked up something from the grocery store. I just clicked a picture of it, and that's it. Like you have all macros, micros, everything tracked right here. It's even showing me my vitamin intake, my minerals intake, everything that a particular meal kind of contributes. And similarly, like, if I go to this screen, which would show me my workout plans, it has all of these different exercises that I perform through the day. And this is like, my real workouts from the gym today. I can click on any of this. I can watch a video. I can track my sets. I can see my progress over time.
Yeah.
That's basically like, so you have all of this data coming in. So first I wanted to show you like you get to know what you want to do, then you're able to track what you're doing. But the next part is getting feedback on what you're doing, right? So now you have this app being completely aware of all of the things that we have coming in here, and it's able to tell me things, right? That my protein intake is on track, but I need to boost my vitamin B12 and D, so I can do like chicken, eggs, or fortified foods. Fiber is doing great. Sodium and potassium balance support your muscle performance well, so I'm doing good on that as well. It's nudging me that like I should keep drinking more water, things like that. So it can bring up like a summary from the day. So it has like you know tens of these different data points from my nutrition activity. And when I say nutrition, there's like so many vitamins and minerals, everything that it knows of. It even knows my supplements like creatine and stuff that I'm taking. And all of that is now being analyzed and summarized for me, and then I can have like a follow-up conversation that I would have like with my personal coach. So this is primarily like how the app functions. Then we have things like, weekly reports that we send to our users, something like you would get from 23andMe giving you a detailed analysis. So they do it for like different, like, genes that you have. And what we do is like, we take all your data from the week and then we tell you like, how you've been doing over time. Like, top things that are good this week, top things that could be better, how you can improve it, if you've been missing any muscle groups that you've not been working out properly. It can even give me a prediction of like, how I'm doing. So right now I'm on lean bulk. It tells me in the past month I've like gained likely 750 grams of body weight. So these are like more intelligent things that we've built in the experience. You can track your progress. You can like, log your pictures, whatever you need. And yeah, everything's here all in one place. So you don't need another app to do anything for your health management.
So do you also have integrations with smart weight checkers and stuff as well, like a Renfo or something like that?
So we have integrations through like Apple Health and Android Health Connect. So if a specific like device that you use is sharing data that most apps conventionally do, we are able to pull that data. So my sleep right here is coming from my Whoop. My steps are coming from my Whoop as well. So that's how pretty much how it works.
Okay. So that brings me to the next thing. I was wondering, how have you navigated the whole privacy and security of data and the laws around that when it comes to your app?
So my experience as a solutions architect like really helps because I've worked with like healthcare companies. I've worked with like large finance institutions. Data security is always like prime there. I have experience just like building architectures which are HIPAA compliant, GDPR compliant. So we just make sure that like we're protecting our users data really really well with 7 layers of security like we should. We don't sell data to anybody, right? And any data that's used for analytics is completely like scrubbed off any personally identifying information, so it can never be traced back to you. So we definitely make sure that like the data that we have and our users are giving us access to, we take care of that.
So I didn't notice an area where I could set goals on this app.
So yeah, those goals are set when you're onboarding, right? Of course,
Oh,
you
okay.
can update those goals. So whenever you're onboarding, you can like get down here, do a questionnaire like this, right? What goals you want and stuff.
Mm,
And that's how it helps set up your plan. Also, it's aware of any medical conditions and allergies you have. So there's a memory. So it just has my personal data, so I'm not sharing that, but it has memory. So it will remember like if you are allergic to something. So whenever it's creating like, let's say, a diet plan for you, and I didn't go into diet plans. So like diet plans can be like really personalized. So you can say like, I love Egyptian and Rajasthani food, right? Just two very different like types of cuisines, and I don't eat red meat, and I'm allergic to nuts. So if you say those things, your plan will be such that it would take that into account, right? And you can view recipes of different things. So in case you're not like familiar of how to cook a specific dish, you can get like a recipe catalog. So many different things, and it remembers you over time too. So yeah, that's how. So when you're signing up, you're providing all this information that helps personalize your entire experience.
yeah. So this is like my personal physical trainer slash nutritionist at home,
Absolutely,
right? Okay.
100%. That's what we're trying to do.
Interesting.
The only thing that I will say is a limitation at the moment is that I can't help correct your form, right, at the gym. So one thing you can do is like start with really less weights and follow along in our videos. But at that same time, we recommend that like you get a couple of training sessions with a trainer. Like I think 2 to 3 sessions are will suffice of doing all the exercises in your plan, right? So you know what to do, right? And then slowly, of course, it's going to be time. Even if you work with a trainer or not, it takes time to form that mind muscle connection. And then it's just on autopilot. I think that just being with you during the workout is the only limitation that we have right now, which I don't see going until we have really cool humanoid robots. But besides that, everything that you need as a guidance, unless you have very specific medical conditions, I think we kind of like satisfy those needs.
Okay. Interesting. So, from a go-to-market perspective,
Yeah.
tactically, right? What are the avenues you're looking at right now?
For go-to-market motion, like we have a couple of channels. So one channel that's been working well for us is just like distribution through ads. and then word of mouth. So we get like 60-70% of our traffic right now just running ads. And then like, people also tell their friends about it. And that has been picking up really fast as we've been improving the product rapidly. So remaining is just like word of mouth. But at that same time, our limitation right now is the top of funnel. Even if you're doing ads, your top of funnel still can only scale linearly. Right. And so we are working with on some partnerships with like, these influencers who already have like, following of like high intent users. We are investing on just like, on the community aspect, like helping grow our own social channels. And besides that, one thing I've been thinking of, which I'm not too sure right now, that we might be able to do is like, integrations with like, enterprise wellness providers. I think that can be pretty good, but it's again B2B sales. And I think like, doing too many channels at the same time is not something that like a startup can afford. So at the moment, like we're keeping that on hold, but focusing on all these direct to consumer channels.
So, have you considered talking to physical trainers themselves who are
Mhm.
doing the? You mentioned that the only area where you do not have a footprint is in the gym when people are actually working out. But that's a place where you have a lot of physical trainers available who can recommend your app to people who come in to train.
Absolutely. I think we're big on them recommending the app. Watch out for a few months. I think like we're doing amazing things in like our messaging and like,
Okay.
just the growth side. So the word will start going out, and I'm sure like we'll have like, all these trainers already being aware of us.
Interesting.
Because
All the
it
best
is an
on that.
unparalleled product, right? Like, because like again,
Yeah.
everything that we do all at one place, there's nothing that does. So what is the reason that you would go to any other app?
No, you got a point there. It's just that people need to know that there is an app like this out there.
Exactly.
That's the
And I
main
think
thing.
like
That's the
with,
biggest challenge, right?
once somebody
Yeah.
said, like one of these YC founders said that and became a partner eventually. But what he said was like, marketing is a tax you pay for not making a remarkable product.
Hmm.
So I think like that's
Fair.
what we're trying to do. I think marketing is essential. I will not say that you just should keep building in a silo. But at that same time, I think like, building that remarkable product is how we expect that word of mouth to grow.
Whoever said that was really pushing for product led growth, I guess. So you have integrations with wearables, you said. You mentioned Whoop,
Yes, we
right?
do. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And any other ecosystems like that, wearable ecosystems?
Everything. So as I said, like, we can pull data from all the apps that are willing to share data.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
So primarily through these like common channels of Apple Health and Android Health Connect. So they act like as this middle layer for sharing data between the applications. So we also share data with them to be imported into other applications. People would love a seamless integration. Um, and we'll see about that maybe in a year or so. But we do plan to get more data. Right now we only basic data like steps, cardio, sleep. But we want to expand into like, your HRV through the day. Though most of our users are beginner users, they don't have devices like Whoop, which is like, rapidly measuring their heart rate and like all these other metrics like skin temperature. But it is something that we can surely do. We just don't do it right now just to make sure that we're doing what most of our users need. But down the line, I think like, this is going to be that one central place where you will have all your health data. You'll be able to upload your blood reports. You'll be able to upload your ultrasonics, whatever it is that you have about your health, stored at one place. Now this AI being completely aware about you. So when you next time say that, hey, my stomach's been acting weird today. So it can point out the patterns in your last 2 days of eating, which might be causing that, right? Sometimes it can proactively do. You can report symptoms. So I think like, that's what we're going towards. Initially, it is more about like, just helping you reshape your body, but then it'll be more about like, working on any aspect of your health.
So you're using publicly available AI models. How have you kind of built your own IP on top of it? The reason why I'm asking this is what happens if someone like an OpenAI or an Anthropic completely revamps the model, or they have their own services that they build in this space? Is that a risk you've already seen, or is that not an issue for you?
Yeah, I think like this is something that we've been fundamentally thinking about from the day we started. That what is our moat, right? What is the IP that we are building ourselves, and like, do we need to build our own models? But I think like, just directionally and intuitively, what I thought was like building the best product for our users was of prime importance. And that understanding of the users will determine the direction and approach that you take, and that becomes your company and that becomes your mode. The models you will never beat when they have billions of dollars. I think I want them to improve their models, and each time in the past we could have tried to fine tune a smaller model to make it work for us, but we decided to invest those efforts into engineering and pay higher costs for bigger models, and then like 2 months later the price is dropped by 50%, 80%, right? The model becomes like twice as fast. So I will not bet on making a better model myself at the moment. uh, I want this AI thing to find its saturation point where you're like, okay, now you start doing your tactics to improve the functionalities. But at that same time, where is our IP at the moment? Our You saw a very simple app, right? Like everything's so simple, right? You click photos, you get your nutrition, yada 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 yada. There's like at least 20 agents operating on the back end, right? How to create the perfect diet plan, how to create the perfect workout plan. That is our domain knowledge, right? Which we use in conjunction with these models to render this entire experience. How do you create these weekly reports? So many agents that are operating on the back end, and the value is in this application layer that we built. And we do have lots of just data on meal tracking. So I think one thing that these models can use some improvement is just better tracking of quantities and stuff. And I think just some fine tuning using that data can help. But at the moment, I think it does pretty much most of the job. So we're fine with that.
And from a user feedback perspective, how accurate has this experience been for an end user? It's got my basic profile, it's got my initial goal set,
Uh,
it's got whatever parameters that I've fed it, and then my habits are continuously changing as I'm using the app. So how do you kind of factor that in, that the human on the other side, the user, is going to not going to stick to the plot at all times, right? He's going to kind of
Absolutely.
have his own deviations along the way, and the application has to see that, factor that in, and tweak the recommendation, stuff like that. And that's where the accuracy has to be pretty good, right?
Absolutely. That is why it is your personal trainer in your pocket, because it keeps talking to you. So you're getting these notifications. Hey, I haven't seen you. Like it's been so quiet since morning. What's up? And not like generic notifications that we send to 10,000 users, but each word is written for you, right? With due care. So it keeps analyzing your data and will keep telling you like what you can do better today. So one, to like make you active on the app, that's what we do. And as you are active in the app and you're logging your data, it can find patterns in maybe you didn't log everything today, so I'm not seeing the entire thing. Or second is that if this is literally what your data is for today, then you slept really less. You did not eat well. So these are the tweaks that you can make. Maybe grab this kind of a snack. It gives you some kind of recommendations. You don't have to exactly follow them, but it will keep nudging you and informing you. And that's the purpose of the weekly reports as well. That I have this data for the week, and week is a great milestone to make some progress and like look back on it. So all of that feedback really helps. And I think how we kind of be sure of the efficacy of our system. That's very important. Right? Like I have this system in place that can keep you, and let's say hypothetically, keep engaged forever. But like, is it effective? Does it work? Is it the best fat loss solution that has existed on the planet? Yes,
Mm.
because like our users have lost more than 50 pounds of body weight in a year and less of our existence with pretty much a scrappy product for most of it, right? And it's doing some things and like just slowly improving, gradually improving. And not just one or two users, we have had hundreds of users lose very significant amounts of like body weight, and people who came to gain weight, they've been able to steadily gain it. We've rated close to 5 stars on both the stores. So I think like these are the things that we use to make sure that the system is not just anecdotally working for us. It's not just based on feed forward thinking where I learn from this research and apply it, but there's a feedback loop of us measuring what our people are doing. So people are
Mm.
using the app very actively and they're able to get these results, which they couldn't in their previous lives. They didn't have access to a good trainer. They didn't have access to the right knowledge. They didn't have access to the tools. And even people like my mom are like 7, 8 kgs down already, right? in like 6 months of use of a product. So
Do you see an experience where I take a picture of something I want to eat, and then your app is saying that's not good for you?
yeah, so what it does
You
is
know?
like it's not very like selective on what you should. I love eating desserts at times, and then I do. I don't want it to like, hey, don't eat it and make me feel bad about it. What it does is like we've tuned it in a way, and that
Hmm.
again comes from the IP of like us understanding the users that hey, that looks like a delicious treat, right? Either like maybe you can think about portion controlling this or later in the day, right?
Mm,
And if you've had like let's say lots of sugar, you just want like lots of sugar today. Maybe you can like balance that with some veggies and like your protein. So
mm.
have like a balanced day at the end of it. So it doesn't stop you. So many apps also do this like thing of like a health score, like 10, really bad. It's okay. Long as you're balanced through the day, and unless you're diabetic, you can eat sugar, right? That's okay. Like, no Coke. I mean, like a Coke can has like 140 calories. Sure, you had like empty calories, though it doesn't have vitamins and like most minerals that you need. That's okay, but don't feel bad about it. Try to switch that with Diet Zero. So we'll give you the recommendation, but we don't like just force you to do certain things, because the moment I do that, your life becomes restrictive. I make it hard to follow, and then you will churn and never look back again. And like that diet plan you dropped out of.
So my take is a little bit different, and nuanced, because when you're going and buying um, products that are marketed as healthy, they're not always healthy, right?
Yeah,
So, and it's a
100%.
gray area right now, right? So a lot of people think they're eating a lot of healthy stuff, could be nutrition bars, protein bars and stuff, but they are kind of loaded with all kinds of stuff that you should not really be ingesting, right? In
Mm-hmm.
that case, something as a personal trainer would typically tell you, avoid this, avoid that, and would kind of contextualize it as for your long-term health. I think it's super important that you get that guidance, right?
You do, right?
Um,
Like when you're logging that in the system. So let's say when you're
mm,
logging, and it's fine, like it's all context dependent. So
yeah.
something that is being sold as a protein bar is not a protein bar, doesn't make it inherently bad. And when I say a protein bar not being a protein bar is when it has like 5 grams of protein giving you 240 calories. It's not a
Mm,
protein bar, it is a carb bar,
mm,
right? Like with some protein in it, right? Might as well eat peanuts. So that's what I'm talking about. So context wise, if you need energy, go for it. So it's like totally fine, right? The moments I'm doing a hard
but
session in the gym,
how do you know what the
have
user needs at that time?
exactly. So that is what the AI tells them, right? So when you log that bar, thinking that it's a protein bar, it'll give you feedback. Like first, you can visually see that so much protein is still remaining. What happened? Oh, it had only 5. So as you're learning the process, you become a good selector of products just inherently, right?
Mm,
And let's say if I'm going on a run, right? And so I can chat it out with Fio, our AI assistant, right? Where you can just ask, hey, Fio, like, well, I'm going on a 10K run. What should I be fueling with? And it can tell you ideas, right? You can say like, click a picture of like a menu or like a product and say, can I eat this? And it's like, yeah, these things are good about it, or don't do it. It won't help you. I've gone on
mm,
so many runs. I recently did a 15K in like San Francisco. And I literally just chatted it out with Fio that, hey, look at my nutrition for the day. Tomorrow I'm going on this thing. Help me prepare. And it helped me prepare. And I did my fastest 15K and haven't been running for
mm,
months. So we contextualize it. But saying something is bad, like without context, is not good. It's
mm,
not that great. You find it in context and then you learn that why am I even getting it?
mm.
If that makes
Okay.
sense.
I just wanted to understand how you approach it. And how big is the team?
We have like close to 15 collaborators at the moment, about
Okay.
7 full time, and rest of them are part time interns,
Okay.
just integrations through different organizations. So we have like a design cohort from like here in the US. Like so, we have 6 designers on the team at the moment who are working with us for 10 weeks.
Okay.
Besides that, like our team has like 6 engineers in India. Then we have like an intern who's helping with some of the marketing efforts. So yeah, like that's basically the team structure right now. So I am in the middle of raising funds right now. The moment we do close that fundraise, the team will scale. And I think like what I do plan to expand on is like having a product and marketing team here in North America. right? So we can speak that language and be in that energy to build that truly world-class product that we can still distribute back at home in India or anywhere else. Here's my ask. If you are working on any health goal in your life and that you've been stuck with, you feel plateaued, I want you to try Reshape. Go to www.reshapeapp.ai. You'll find links to both the Android and Apple stores. Download the app, it will navigate you. I would love for you to try out the product and share some feedback through the support channel there. I'm pretty sure it would be the most caring product that you've ever come across, and I hope that it is effective for you. If not, let me know and we'll make it so. Okay. Ask number two. If you are an investor or a founder who wants to build the cutting edge of something, have a global impact, we're on a mission to eliminate all preventable diseases from the planet. Of course, we won't do all of them, but I'm sure we'll do majority of them by the end of the decade. If you want a front row seat to that mission and get hundreds of X return, then reach out to me at amol@reshapeapp.ai and we can talk. Ask number three. If you are a product person or a designer who's looking to try out what's happening at the cutting edge of AI, especially in consumer tech, how people are interacting with AI, what kind of benefits they're getting out of it, try out Reshape. Download the app from Reshapeapp.ai. You'll find links to both Android and Play Store and the App Store. Try out the product. Tell me what you think. If you think you can contribute to the project, let's get in touch. I always look for collaboration opportunities, so I hope that we can figure something out. So everyone watching this episode, I have a special referral code for you as well. You can use the code JOURNEY30, JOURNEY 30, for 30 days of free Reshape Pro access. I hope you love it.
Nice. Okay.
I'm also really excited to talk to founders who are building in the same space. This mission is not so much about who makes the most money possible. I mean, it can be a byproduct, but the mission is really to help out the planet and really have people have that helping hand through their life journeys to maximize their life potential. So if you are a founder building in this space, reach out to me. I do connect with a lot of founders on LinkedIn as well. We have these conversations. I'm very happy jumping on calls. My calendar link is just one tap away. So we can get on those calls and chat about what you are doing, if there is room for collaboration there and how we can help people. Another thing that I want to just touch from a more philosophical end, right? People who are stuck in their lives and a lot of my friends are having really high paying jobs at the moment, but they have lost that sense of meaning, that what are they doing, how much money will be enough to hold, right? And then what is the meaning of it all, right? Should they just get into the cycle that everybody does and exit the cycle like everybody does? So if that is like you and you've been thinking about doing something, I think it's a fantastic time to be a founder because you can do so much with less. Like I have been bootstrapping this for 2 years. Right. And it's been an amazing journey. And I couldn't have done it any time in the past because building the software is so much easy. The capabilities of AI and the services that you can build with those capabilities is so easy. There are all these credits from Microsoft, Google, Amazon that you can use to power your technology pretty much for free. Right. So just execution wise, it has never been easier. Second thing, impact wise, everybody's is AI a hype cycle? Come on, was internet a hype cycle? Sure, there were lots of uh, unsustainable ideas that were popping and being funded, but that's what investors do. They pump stuff up and pray that it works, right? But in the end, most of your life today is still powered by the internet and increasingly more so. And expect the same with AI. If you're just trying to use AI to do anything that it can do and then hoping that it will make a business, that's not a good approach to take. And you will be on the suffering side of this cycle where you might be able to score funding, you might be able to go a long way, and then you look back and realize that it wasn't for nothing, right? So whatever you do, start with a pain point in the world. Like if there is something specific that bugs you, that doesn't make you sleep at night, it doesn't make, like when I walk on the street and I see somebody, like, struggling to walk, it affects me personally. Like I can't sleep. Like, just going back to my software job and like doing things that won't hit production for next 2 years and possibly not make much impact besides back end optimization of a company. I can't live with that, right? That's a problem that I personally felt connected with. And then that problem was so much bigger than me that I was willing to go on this journey, even with the risk of this not working out. Because not working out is totally fine, long as you enjoy that journey itself. Most chances, especially if you're a first time founder, not many connections, good chances you not make it this time around. But that experience itself is so enriching, just at a personal emotional level, but even at a skill level. The density of like experience that you get being a founder is just like unparalleled, like anything else. It's very easy for us socially to, like, admire people going for like these top Ivy League MBAs. If that is what you really want, totally fine. But you end up committing fears to basically making a network and having a label on you. You can literally use much less money to bootstrap your entire company, have pretty much the same things, if not better. So think of these things as well. And I think, like, if you keep doing what everybody else is doing, don't expect something different. You're going to get the same outcomes, right? And if you're trying to have your own life and have your own identity, do something for others, help make the world just a tad bit better, and the challenge of it will just make your journey so much more fruitful. And don't just jump in all into a thing right away, right? Prepare yourself. It takes a lot of work. Like it takes a lot of emotional work, right? Like, are you able to be equanimous with your emotions? Are you able to handle your emotions well? Are you able to then like match your skills? Like, are your skills good enough? Have you had some kind of a financial cushion so it doesn't, like, leave you on the streets in a couple of months?
Yeah, see, most people don't realize that the founder's journey is a very lonely journey, right? And it
Yeah.
requires a lot of grit, right? You're living it. I've done it earlier, but and it's not easy. It requires a lot of agency, a lot of dedication, a lot of resilience. I think resilience is a very important thing that people don't realize. And yeah, you're gonna be every day. It's a roller coaster, right? One day is great. The next day you're gonna be in the dumps. The next day again you're up and swinging at the world, right?
I have that thrice a day. Like through my day, I'm like,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think like that's the part of it, and that's the fun. So if you are that person, then do it, I guess.
true, true. That's what. So, uh, cool, but really nice of you to put it out there for other founders who are building. This whole community at Founder Journeys that we are trying to do is the same. We're trying to kind of give everyone, a chance to put their message out there, share their story, so that someone who's in some other part of the world sees it and says, "Hey, I want to work with this guy. I want to do something with this guy." That's what we're hoping, right? So,
Awesome.
yeah, um,
Yeah, thank
really,
you for
really
doing this.
cool.
I love the mission. Like, the like moment that when we had met, like, when you told me about this, I really was aligned that like this is something that we need. We need more
Yeah,
founders' voices out there. I wish
true.
I could be doing this, but like being a founder in the present, I realize my own limitations. And of course, like, I'm always in for the community. So if there's anything that I can be helpful for anybody else as well, please just feel free to reach out.
I'm glad we could do this. Very interested in how things pan out for Reshape, and all the best. And
Thank
let's
you.
let's
Much
hit it.
appreciated, Sanjeev. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. It was a pleasure.